to turn. You can help the All Faiths Food Bank Thankful campaign now. Learn more at allfaithsfoodbank.org. This is WUSF, broadcasting from studios at USF Tampa and USF Sarasota Manatee.
When you sign up for WUSF's Wake Up Call newsletter, you're connected to what's going on where you live. Local news, weather, events, and culture. Start getting your weekday morning wake-up call at WUSF.org.
How much do you pay for power each month? If you've noticed your power bill going up, you're not alone. I'm Matthew Petty, and ahead on Florida Matters, live and local, why are power bills so high, and what are some solutions? If you're struggling to pay your electric bills, how is it affecting your budget? Call 813-755-6562 and let us know, or email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. And you may know it as Malfunction Junction. It strikes fear into the hearts of Tampa drivers.
Raises my blood pressure a little bit going through there. It causes a lot of anxiety.
Where I-4 meets 275 is getting closed down for the weekend for a construction project. What's your experience of that bit of roadway, and will this project help ease traffic? All this and more on Florida Matters live and local. First, the news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. It's day 2 of a government shutdown with no deal.
I can. How are you doing? Had my normal bowl of cereal and a cup of coffee. Put some half and half in the coffee. And since it was still looking at 12:20 as approximate time. Oh, okay. Great, thank you.
Double the monthly premium they're paying now.
Or they might switch to a plan with a much higher deductible, or they might lose their coverage.
The Congressional Budget Office estimates that if the enhanced tax credits expire over the next several years, 4 million people will become uninsured. Selena Simmons-Duffin, NPR News, Washington.
Authorities in the United Kingdom have arrested 2 more suspects in an attack on a synagogue in Manchester today that left 2 people dead and 3 in serious condition. Police say the suspect drove a car into the building and began stabbing people. That suspect was shot dead by police. The attack, which authorities call an act of terrorism, came on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish year. President Trump held talks with the leader of Qatar today. The call came just days after Trump put forth the U.S. proposal to end the war in Gaza. NPR's Aya Betrawi reports.
President Trump's call with Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani comes 2 days after Qatari mediators submitted the president's proposed peace plan to Hamas negotiators in Doha. Hamas, which would have to free all hostages it still holds up front in the plan, is said to be seeking more specifics on the deal. For example, Trump's plan does not define a clear role for Palestinians to govern Gaza, and instead would see an international board chaired by Trump managing affairs for an undefined period of time. It also does not set out a clear timeline for Israeli troop withdrawal from Gaza, linking it instead to Hamas's disarmament. Trump told reporters this week Hamas would have just a few days to respond to his plan, but Qatar's prime minister says there are elements of it that require further discussion. Aya Batrawi, NPR News, Dubai.
Stocks are trading mixed on Wall Street at this hour. The Dow was down 96 points, the Nasdaq up 14. This is NPR.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Made in Cookware. Made in Cookware is crafted by chefs for use in restaurants and home kitchens around the world. Their cookware can be found at madeincookware.com. This is NPR.
You're listening to WUSF 89.7. I'm Craig Kopp. A Tampa voter has filed a lawsuit against the governor to force a special election for a vacant state Senate seat. WUSF's Steve Newborn reports this seat has been empty since Ron DeSantis chose Jay Collins as his lieutenant governor.
The lawsuit was filed by the American Civil Liberties Union of Florida on behalf of Court Lippy, who lives in South Tampa. Lippy wrote in the lawsuit, Tampa deserves full representation in the legislature. By refusing to call a special election, the governor is denying us that right. The suit alleges DeSantis violated his constitutional duty to call a special election, which historically has taken place shortly after a seat becomes vacant. The lawsuit says this has effectively disenfranchised voters in Senate District 14, which includes South Tampa, West Tampa, Town and Country, and Lutz. The ACLU filed similar lawsuits when the governor failed to call elections in other districts earlier this year and in 2023. The governor set the elections after the suits were filed. Steve Newborn, WUSF 89.7 News.
Conservationist and humanitarian Jane Goodall died at 91 years old yesterday. She visited the Tampa area multiple times over the years, inspiring and empowering children to make a difference in the world. St. Petersburg teacher Rachel Pathay says her students got to hear Goodall speak in person on a number of occasions.
They truly understand how important she is, and they're not only inspired by her, but I know that they will be committed to continuing to carry her flame going forward.
Pathay plans to share Goodall's story with her future students and help them to embody the values Goodall practiced every day. The Jane Goodall Institute awards microgrants to local chapters of her youth program, Roots and Shoots, to help fund special projects in the greater Tampa Bay region. I'm Craig Kopp, WUSF 89.7 News.
Want to catch up on Tampa Bay area news and culture? I'm Sky LeBron, and I got you every weekday morning with the Bay Blend podcast from WUSF. It's quick, fun, and you'll discover something new every day. It's the Bay Blend, wherever you get your podcasts or at WUSF.org.
Bach Tower Gardens hosts the Rootstock Plant Sale, October 4th. Enjoy hay rides through Pine Ridge Reserve, live music by Highway 41, and shop from over 25 vendors from across Florida. More at bachtower.org.
This is Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. We're broadcasting from the Doctors Lorraine Rubis and Neil Frankel studio in Tampa. Do you dread opening your power bill every month? I know I do. Electricity prices are going up across the country, and here in Florida, it's no different either.
For too long, we've had to deal with issues of people who had to make choices between getting medicine and paying a utility bill. People who have to deal with eviction because they can't pay a utility bill.
That's Walter L. Smith II with the environmental group Sierra Club. He was talking there about rising energy costs. Well, Tampa Electric customers paid the highest average electricity bills in the state in June, followed by Duke Energy and Florida Power and Light. All three are major providers in our region. Do you have to rethink your household budget because of high power bills? Or maybe you're adjusting your electrical usage because of those bills? Why are they so high, and what can you do about them? We want to hear from you. Call 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562, or email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Well, for more, we're joined by Bradley Marshall, an attorney with Earth Justice. Bradley, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so how long has your group been looking at the rising cost of electricity?
We've been representing groups in rate cases in Florida since 2021. Was the first time that we represented a group in a rate case.
Mm-hmm. So
actually, that's not true. I'm sorry, but that's when we really got involved. We did represent groups before that as well.
Okay, so in terms of trends, though, I mean, what are you seeing? Like, are these bills kind of sneaking up slowly? Are you seeing big increases all at once? What's happening?
I mean, it's a variety of factors, right? There are some things that cause the bill to keep steadily going up. I mean, one of those things is what we call base rates. That's what when the utilities come in for you see a big general rate increase. That's part of the base rate portion of the bill. And we've seen utilities continue to seek ever higher profits, ever higher spending. That is increasing that portion of the bill at a relatively steady pace. Mm-hmm. But there are other portions of the bill that can spike pretty quickly depending on what's happening. For example, the fuel portion of the bill. If fuel prices spiked as they did back in 2023, that can cause that portion of the bill to spike very quickly. And storm costs also can fall into that category when we're hit by a storm and the utilities go to their customers to recover all that money that they've spent. That can have a big impact on the bill really quickly as well.
We're talking about the high cost of electricity and the cost of power going up. I want to hear from you as well. Are you noticing your bill creeping up? Tell us about it. We're at 813-755-6562. You can also email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Interested to know if you've been adjusting your electricity consumption, maybe doing your laundry at a different time of day or turning off your AC for a bit, whatever it may be. Want to hear how you're coping with the cost of power. That's 813-755-6562. Email us at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Bradley, talking about the impact of things like storms, I mean, that's something that affects us here in Florida pretty profoundly. So when you have power companies saying, look, we really have to kind of recoup some of the impact or the cost of a Hurricane Milton or something, I mean, that is a genuine issue, right? Like they're not like using that to hide something else.
It is a genuine issue. I mean, we'd argue that maybe the utilities should also have a stake in that, and that they could also be on the hook for some of the costs from their profits, because we have seen their profits continue to grow in the state, and that is a driver of the bill. And so we would argue that maybe they should have a little bit at stake in the storms as well, and that the customer shouldn't be 100% on the hook for all those costs, plus interest to the utilities.
I understand you're going to trial on Monday, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
Sure. FPL has come in for a almost $10 billion rate increase. We believe it might be the largest electric utility rate increase ever filed in the nation. And so we are representing several consumer groups in opposition to that requested rate increase. They're also requesting even higher allowed profits and mechanisms to take customer money to keep themselves at the top of the allowed range of profits that they're allowed to make. And so we have a lot of issues with their proposal as we plan to spend the next 2 weeks showing.
Do you think that you've got a good chance of winning that legal battle?
We think we have a lot of good arguments. There has been a competing settlement agreements filed, one by FPL and some of FPL's largest corporate customers that reallocated much of the rate increase from customers having to pay their fair share onto residential and small business customers. And so as a result, a lot of these big corporations are getting a big break on their bill as a result, and have signed on to this settlement that gives FPL virtually everything that they asked for. And so we have a lot of issues with that settlement as well, but the Public Service Commission does have a history of approving settlements that the utilities make. And so, we certainly think we have a lot of good arguments against that settlement, but yes, I mean, the commission could ultimately approve it.
It seems like there's a bunch of kind of different ways you can tackle the high cost of power. Like the legal avenue is one. Do you have other court cases on the go as well?
We do. I mean, for Tampa, like for the Tampa Electric Company rate increase that was passed last year by the Public Service Commission, it's finalized early this year actually, and that took effect this year. And then there's another subsequent year increase coming that's going to take effect in January. We've appealed that to the Florida Supreme Court, along with the Office of Public Counsel, which is responsible for representing all of the utilities customers in these types of proceedings. And so we do have several legal tracks trying to challenge these rate increases.
The number is 813-755-6562, talking about the rising cost of power. If you've noticed your power bill going up, how are you dealing with it? Maybe there are some things you're doing to try and bring that power down, or maybe you're concerned about why the power bill is increasing. Give us a call, 813-755-6562. You can also send us an email, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. So there's also, ways to create energy that may be a little more cost effective, right? Like if you look at alternatives, do you see power companies investing in some of those things?
Well, the most cost-effective alternative is energy efficiency. Not using that kilowatt hour of electricity in the first place is usually the best way to save money on your power bill. Unfortunately, although we have started to make progress in getting the utilities to help their customers do more in Florida to save energy with an expansion of programs targeting low-income customers specifically, Florida is still way behind the national average in how much the utilities are doing to help their customers save energy on their electricity bills. And so we believe energy efficiency is definitely one of the best ways to help lower electricity usage and therefore lower your electricity bill.
Every state's going to have different challenges, right? Whether it's generation or some of the the ways that the reasons for those power bills going up. I want to ask you about how Florida compares to other states, but let's just go to the phones in the first place. We've got Brent calling in from Apollo Beach. Brent, you're on the air.
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me.
You got it.
I just want to say I work with a solar company, Solar Energy World. We're in the Tampa Bay area and other states.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the tax credit for solar is going away this year, there is still the option for what's called third-party ownership or a solar lease. And it's essentially where we put up enough panels to completely eliminate your electric bill. You'll still pay your customer connection charge.
Mm-hmm.
And in its place, you can have a solar lease payment that is significantly less, in many cases less than half of what you pay on average to your electric company.
So you're saying that's a good way to kind of bring down your bill, even if you are paying a little bit to the power isn't completely free, right?
The customers that offset all their power still have to pay a minimum in Florida of $25 to $30 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Florida implemented this law that's the minimum charge that a person would pay, but the rest of the bill is a function of how much you use, and the rest of the bill goes away.
Yeah.
In its place, you can have a solar lease payment that, as I said, in many cases is less than half of what you're spending.
Yeah. Brent, thanks so much for weighing in with that. I want to get your thoughts on that in a moment, if I could, Bradley, but let me just get one more call in here in the meantime. Phil, you're on the air. Phil, what's on your mind?
Hey, so I was calling because I got my utility bill last month.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was wild because it said at the top of the bill my usage had gone down 20% from the year prior, but the bill was actually 24% higher than the year prior.
Huh. Wow. So usage down, but your bill has gone up. How does that make you feel?
I thought it was crazy. I felt like I was getting scammed or something,
Phil, thanks for weighing in. I'm sorry you're experiencing those issues. Real quick here, Bradley, we only have a little bit of time left, and is that something you're hearing from some of the folks that you represent, that their power use may be going down? It's not doing anything for their bills going down, though?
Absolutely, because we continue to see base rates continuing to go up every year. We continue to see these storm charges impacting people's bills. And so even though people are trying to do what they can to lower their usage, there's only so much they can do in the face of how expensive electricity is becoming. And so it's definitely a struggle for people and why we're in this fight to try to stop some of these increases.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to leave it there, but I want to thank you so much for your input, Bradley Marshall, an attorney with Earth Justice. Thanks for being here, Bradley.
Thanks for having me.
Power bills are just one of the many costs you've been watching raise in the past year or so, and we're going to be talking more about inflation on Florida Matters Live and Local next week. We want to hear from you. Leave an email about the sticker shock you're experiencing at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. In about 10 minutes on Florida Matters Live and Local, if you drive around Tampa, you know where I-4 meets 275. Malfunction Junction is the nickname. It's going to be closed off and on this whole weekend for construction. Love to know what it's like for you to drive that stretch of road, and will the new off-ramp fix the congestion? In about 10 minutes, call in with your thoughts, 813-755-6562. First, though, how do you start a sports fan club from scratch? That's coming up next on Florida Matters Live and Local in a moment.
Gulfside Healthcare Services provides expert, compassionate care for every step of your journey. The Dr. J. Weil Center for Hospice Care in Newport Richey is now serving patients. Learn more at gulfside.org. Support for the Zest podcast comes from WUSF members and Adelaide Interiors, with a new location now open on Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa, offering lunch and learn events featuring the Wellness Kitchen, where design meets well-being. Learn more and see the schedule at adelaide.com.
It's football season, and your old car may not make the cut for tailgating, but it can still be the MVP for WUSF. Donate your vehicle and score a touchdown for the local news and voices you count on here on WUSF. Call 866-WUSF-CAR or go long and visit WUSF.org, and then do a little happy dance in the end zone, knowing that you supported WUSF.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. As a sports fan, there's nothing like being at a game for your favourite team. The place feels alive from the energy of you and your fellow fans. You're wearing your team's colours, you're shouting and cheering them on. Sounds like a great time. But what if your team is just getting started? How do you create a fan base from scratch? The Tampa Bay Sun is the first professional women's football club of Tampa Bay. For those of you unfamiliar, this football is what Americans call soccer. In June, the team won the inaugural USL Super League Championship against Fort Lauderdale United FC. Lizzie Wiederecht is with us. Lizzie, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And for folks who are listening to this, there's a great backdrop there. I see you've got some pennants behind you celebrating the team's successes. Just describe what you've got on the backdrop there.
So I have our inaugural, before we even had a name, we were just the USL Super League Tampa Bay scarf, where they were giving out at these community huddles that they did before the team was really established, to get names, name ideas, color ideas. I've got our inaugural season scarf. I've got our Heat Wave, which is our supporters group scarf, another Tampa Bay scarf, and a full league scarf with all the teams in the league logos on it. And also I have a poster signed by a bunch of the players from the inaugural team.
Okay, so you're a fan from way back.
Oh, yeah. A whole year. Yep.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us, we're talking with Lizzie Wiederecht. She is the founder of the Heat Wave. It's the Tampa Bay Sun fan club. If you've got a question for us about the Heat Wave or just about fandom in general, give us a call. We're at 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also share your thoughts on Florida Matters at WUSF.org. Send us an email. So, I mean, how did you start? Because it's been around for a year, right? So, and doing really well, which must be pretty amazing as a fan to see your team like win the pennant on the first go round. But with a club kind of from scratch, how does that happen?
I mean, to be honest, a lot of folks who are Rowdies fans, Tampa Bay Rowdies over in St. Pete, have been waiting for a women's team for forever. The Rowdies were supposed to have a team in 2020. Obviously that got derailed. I had a Twitter account that said, "Do the Rowdies have a women's team yet?" And it just tweeted no every single day for like 2 years at this point.
Oh yeah.
And then around, what was it, 2023, we saw some sprinklings about a USL Super League, and we're like, okay. And then we see that there's going to be Tampa Bay, and honestly the hype just kind of built itself. It wasn't that hard to get started because I had so many people around me being like, okay, yeah, what do we do?
Yeah. Speaking of the Rowdies, they have their own fan club, right? They've got Ralph's Mob. Was that sort of inspiration for what you were trying to do with the Heat Wave?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been part of Ralph's Mob. I've been a Rowdies fan since the very first game back at Steinbrenner in 2010. I was there. I love the Rowdies. I've been a part of Ralph's Mob. I've done some stuff in it. I've helped out, and I like what they have. So I definitely wanted to build a similar type of community with the Heat Wave.
Talking about the Heat Wave, that's the Tampa Bay Sun fan club, and it's pretty new. It's been around for a little bit now with the emergence of this new women's soccer team in Tampa Bay. Give us a call if you've got some thoughts about it. Maybe you're a soccer fan, or maybe you've just got some thoughts about fandom in general. The number is 813-755-6562. Send us an email, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. So, Lizzie, fan clubs around the world have rituals, right? Do you have some favorites of your own? Are there some that you're kind of developing with the Heat Wave?
So we knew we wanted to really celebrate the team. So one of the things that we do is we have nation flags for every player's country of origin, and we make sure that that's all represented at the game. We have lots of drums. We like to be loud. In terms of like stuff that we do like every single game to like make sure we win, we don't really have that yet.
Okay. So there's not a certain way you got to wear your hat or something.
No, we're not that superstitious.
Okay. What about songs? You know, in England, for example, you've got like the West Ham United fans. They'll sing "I'm forever blowing bubbles." Liverpool FC has got "You'll Never Walk Alone." Is there a theme song for the heat wave?
Yeah. So we have a song. It's loosely based actually on a Rowdies one. And it's like every week we follow the girls in blue and gold, the sunniest of suns since 2024. So we have a bunch of sun themed songs, a bunch of Tampa themed ones, ones to heckle the other team.
Give us a heckling song. I want to hear a heckling song.
Let me see.
Well, make sure it's fit for radio.
Yeah, I don't know.
Keep it
There's
PG.
some we're not always 100% family friendly. I'll be honest. So I don't know if I can say that one, but if you come to a game, we'll definitely sing it.
Yeah. So is that something you had to think about? Like, are you kind of trying to cater for fans of a wide age range? And is there a little bit of a difference between, you know, what you're doing with your fan club and maybe some of other fan clubs you've seen? Because fans can be pretty passionate, and sometimes the passion can run pretty high, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. There's swearing. Where most of us in the section are adults. There's a lot of swearing, especially if the team is not playing well. But we do want to try and make it as inclusive as possible. I know one of the things that didn't occur to me when I first started was I bought a whole bunch of flags, like sun flags, heat wave flags, but they were all too heavy for the kids. So like I had to get smaller flags, lighter flags for that. So we do want the kids to come in because they love to come and they bang on the drum. You know, we let people come in. If they want to hit the drum, they can. If they want to wave a flag, they can.
You got any other musicians besides the drummer?
Mostly just just drums.
If people want to join the heat wave, what should they do? I mean, is there some kind of initiation ritual you've got to go through?
No, honestly, if you show up and you come stand in the supporter section and you shout with us, you're part of the heat wave. We have a website, which is heatwavesg.com. It has some of our information. It also has a link to our Discord, which is where we talk a lot. I also try to post updates on our Instagram, which is just the heatwave_.
And what are you hoping for the team this season? I mean, it's hard to kind of go further than what you got last time, right?
I mean, obviously, I want to win it again. That's what everybody's saying. We were pretty cocky last year. I'm gonna be honest. Like we started off being like, oh, we're gonna win the whole league, and then we ended up doing it, which was kind of insane.
Yeah.
I'd like to win again this year, but I just like to see some improvements made, maybe with just outreach. Getting more sold out games would be awesome.
Yeah.
More people in the supporter section is always great.
Yeah, the energy is important, isn't it? Lizzie Wiederecht, founder of the Heatwave, the Tampa Bay Sun fan club. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, if you're driving and you know the roads around Tampa, you might want to pull over to the side for this next conversation. We are talking about the so-called malfunction junction. It's where I-4 and I-275 meet. As the name suggests, it's usually a place where the traffic slows to a crawl and tempers fray. That bit of roadway is going to be shut down on and off for the weekend while work gets done on a new exit ramp. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us how you normally cope with malfunction junction and how the weekend detour is going to affect your weekend plans. And will the work they're doing fix the congestion? Call 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. We'll get to that conversation on Florida Matters Live and Local after this.
Before the release of Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen wasn't yet the boss. He remembers feeling like that album was his last chance.
It was all or nothing, because in the rest of my life at that time, I had nothing. Every night, that's how I went into the studio.
I'm Elsa Chang, the making of Born to Run on the next All Things Considered from NPR News.
starting at 4 on WUSF.
Are you interested in audio storytelling and podcasting? On Wednesday, October 22nd, WUSF is hosting a pop-up event in Tampa with workshops for podcast producers and audio makers. Free tickets at WUSF.org.
Duke Energy Center for the Arts Mahaffey Theater presents the concert that never was, until now. Queen and Floyd, a celebration of Queen and Pink Floyd with precise renditions of their greatest songs. Friday, October 10th. More at themahaffey.com.
This is Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Matthew Petty. Reconstruction to ease traffic has been done on Malfunction Junction again. You know it, the notorious I-4 and I-275 interchange that's been undergoing reconstruction for years. When traffic backs up, the drivers get ticked off.
Just a lot of brake checking and hand gestures.
Christopher Gillespie is pretty familiar with that stretch of road. He drives for DoorDash and he's often white-knuckling his way through the gridlock.
I would guess say it's just stressful. It kind of probably raises my blood pressure a little bit going through there. It causes a lot of anxiety.
Well, the junction will be closed on and off throughout the weekend so workers can install steel girders for a new exit ramp, widening the interchange. It's not a bad idea as the interchange was built for 60,000 cars a day. Now 200,000 pass through. Gillespie hopes it'll make it easier to get through that junction once they're done. Andrew Williams with the Florida Department of Transportation tells Florida Matters live and local that's the goal.
Having dedicated ramps for the Ybor traffic, both from north and southbound, will help, remove some of that traffic that would normally go into Ybor, so that'll reduce the amount of vehicles that'll be going onto I-4 from either of those movements.
And road closures are going to have an impact this weekend, but Williams says doing it in one push is the best way to handle it.
It is very much known to be a all hands on deck, and with the amount of grace that we're already trying to ask for from the traveling public in advance, both the Department of Transportation and the contractor know that we need to make it work this weekend.
But will this project actually do what it's supposed to? And how will the construction affect your plans for the weekend? You can email FloridaMatters, at FloridaMatters@WSF.org, I should say. Give us a call. We're at 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. Sky LeBron joins us. He's WSF's host of the Bay Blend daily podcast. He's done plenty of transportation reporting as well. Sky, thanks so much for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so state traffic officials started designing this project back in 2023. Construction is now a year and a half in. I mean, these are big projects, right? How long do they take and why do they take so long?
Just in simplest terms, a really long time. Sometimes it could take a half decade, if not longer, to get some of these projects done. This interchange project that's going on right now is about the standard from what we see, especially for something that is this costly. It's about a little bit over $200 million, and it's expected to be done in the fall of 2027. So you look at that cycle from 2023 to 2027, and this is barring any setbacks. A lot of these projects go through setbacks, especially here in Florida because of hurricanes and other crazy weather events. But let's just use an example for something that recently got done, the Gateway Expressway project. That got created for some new toll roadways. It was trying to ease congestion as people go into Pinellas County from the Howard Frankland. It opened in May of 2024, so last year, but there were discussions and files that were available to view on the project since 2015. So it just kind of shows this is a multi-year process that could hit a lot of bumps on the road, joke intended there. So there's just so little room for error and so many potential setbacks that you could face.
You don't think anybody's looking at those files other than engineers?
And like me and you.
Right, yes, reporters. Let's talk about some of what they're doing with this project. And this is just kind of a little kind of snippet of the overall project. But they've got a crane. They're going to take 6 hours to set this thing up, 6 hours to break it down. There's obviously a big piece of equipment. Big parts of the interstate there are going to be shut down while construction is underway. I mean, just how complicated it is for these engineers to do these big projects on roadways which have cars whizzing by.
I'm so happy that you brought that up because that's why whenever I'm out there reporting on these specific subjects, I'm like, when I'm talking to an engineer or just an interview source, I say, please dumb this subject down for me so that I can then get it to the audience that it's understandable because overall, these are like super complicated projects that have so many moving parts, and they're even more complicated when you're talking about traffic on the roadways. Based on what I hear from FDOT officials that I've talked to over the last few years, they're really careful on picking these time slots. when can we affect the least amount of people, which is why in this case for this project, we're seeing it over the weekend that rather than like a Monday through a Thursday throughout the work week when people are already piling into those interchanges. But overall, it's a multi-day process. And just know that with all of these projects, when they're doing road closures, it's all very, very intentional on when exactly they're going to be closing.
The number is 813-755-6562. If you've got some thoughts on Malfunction Junction, maybe some ideas on what you're going to be doing to avoid it.
Some horror stories.
Some horror stories, yeah. What's your experience of getting through that? Or maybe there's some other roads which you would love to see an extra exit ramp or some extra lanes put in as well. 813-755-6562. We're with Sky LeBron, host of the Bay Blend Daily Podcast, occasional traffic reporter when he's able to get out of the studio as well. Speaking of kind of doing it over the weekend, this is, as you say, something that the Florida Department of Transportation, other engineers consider very carefully, and they wanted to make sure that they got this in a time when there wouldn't be as much traffic as usual. Here's Andrew Williams again with Florida Department of Transportation explaining why they chose this weekend.
We specifically made sure to choose this weekend because it's although it's going to be busy for construction, it's going to be a little bit less busy compared to other weekends for the Tampa Bay area.
Right. So, I mean, if you're a driver, you're selfish, right? So you're thinking any construction, just do it when I'm not driving. It doesn't matter when it is. But this is clearly a weekend when it's a bit less busy. One thing is that the Bucks are not playing at home, so you got to factor that in. I mean, this is a big sports city, as you know, Sky.
Yeah, they're literally as far as possible right now. They're going to Seattle this weekend. So, yeah, don't have to worry about that specific issue. But once again, that just shows the intention of these FDOT officials. I'm sure a lot of people may think, hey, they're just doing it to annoy me specifically. But no, there's so much time and effort put into when exactly we need to close this thing down that it'll only affect this many thousand people instead of this many 100,000 people.
813-755-6562 is the number. Share your stories about Malfunction Junction and let us know what you think about it. Are you looking forward to the eventual kind of freeing up of the traffic there? Maybe you've just decided to avoid your getting on the road at all. It's up to you, but let us know either way. 813-755-6562. You can also send us an email. We're at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. So, back to the kind of timeline for this thing, Sky. The project overall won't be completed until 2027. This particular piece of this roadwork puzzle is a milestone in that project. Now, as a transportation reporter, you were working on a story about the Howard Frankland Bridge rebuild not too long ago. Even though that bridge is open, they're still slowly taking the old bridge apart. I mean, what's the takeaway there about the kind of the scope and the scale and the complexity of these projects?
Yeah, that's just another perfect example of it. And just want to say that was a really fun project to cover over the past few years. Shout out to FDOT. They allowed reporters to go to the old bridge and be on the new bridge before both of them opened and closed. It was just such a cool experiences. But yeah, in those cases, these projects move incredibly slowly, and they're breaking down the old bridge not in the sexy way. They're doing it in the most unsexy way possible, I would even say. It's breaking things down piece by piece, then they bring it to the shore, then they break that down even further, and then that kind of gets sold off. It's not a big cool explosion like you see in the movies.
I was disappointed about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not even going to lie to you. I was kind of disappointed about that too when the engineers were like, yeah, we're not blowing it up. It's like, all right, well, I'm a little sad about that. But once again, to go back to the timeline, the Howard Frankland started construction in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
There was some things that happened that year. I don't know if you remember.
I don't. It's a blank.
But because of COVID, there were some drawbacks in terms of materials and supplies and working conditions, but there were also some pluses, which is that there weren't as many cars on the roadways because a lot of people were working from home or not working at all. Even with that, though, the new bridge still took 5 years to build. And like you just said, to start that question, they're still building it right now. They're opening up the toll lane soon. They're going to open up a pedestrian walkway, and they're tearing down the old bridge. All of that's not expected to be done until next year in 2026.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you this is a project that had a pretty good timeline, and it still is going to take 5-6 years to get done.
Yeah, I mean, it's always impressive to me. I think about kind of big ocean-going ships, right? There's a certain amount of work you've got to get done on a ship while it's actually out in the ocean, like scraping barnacles off the hull or patching up rust or whatever it may be. Roads are kind of the same, because once the road is up and running, they kind of got to figure out how to fix it with the least possible kind of inconvenience to the traffic that's using it.
Yeah, and that's where it goes down to, are these jobs appreciated? And I think for a lot of jobs, they go underappreciated, especially when it comes to something like transportation. You said something a couple minutes ago. Are you excited for these new express lanes? I don't think many people get too excited about these things. It's almost like, hey, this is a utility. Cool, I'm going to use it. I'm not excited about it. I'm just kind of relieved that it happened. So, last year I got to cover the guys that make all the road signs in Hillsborough County.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really fun story. How many times do you think about road signs, Matt?
Probably more than a normal person, but yeah.
Yeah, you have a long drive. But I think a lot of people don't think about road signs and how that impacts how you're traveling every single day. So I'd say here's the main thing I'd like to get across. Have a little bit of grace when you're stuck on the road. The people that are causing this traffic right now, they don't want to cause that traffic. They're not trying to inconvenience you. They're trying to plan it around the times that wouldn't impact you as much. You just happen to be on the roadway during that time still.
Are you one of those frustrated drivers who's hoping for some change around Malfunction Junction? Give us a call, 813-755-6562. Here's an email from Newton, who writes, from past experience, I doubt that more construction work will improve traffic at Malfunction Junction. The only cure for these problems will be light rail, I-4 and I-275. It says light rain, but I think light rail he's talking about. This will be about the third or fourth work at the junction in the past 20 years, but nothing changes. Same problem all over Florida. Traffic backs up everywhere because traffic volume increases faster than we can add lanes. Let's build light rail. Look at Europe. Newton, thanks so much for that email. Okay, light rail, that's something that is also very expensive and takes a long time to put in place, right?
Oh, it's going to take a long time, and it will be very expensive, but it's important to note that, like, for I-4 and certain corridors, they've already set up the infrastructure or the possibility for infrastructure for light rail. We've been talking about Brightline coming to this region for a while. Public transportation is always in this conversation, because how can you really get cars off the roadways? People aren't using cars. There's been arguments for years and years about adding extra lanes does not lead to decongestion. It just means more cars are able to get on the roadway, so you're going to be stuck in a bigger crowd. So that's an interesting argument and something that's been used for years. And Florida's getting so populated so quickly. It'd be hard to think of a future where at least some type of light rail or other forms of transportation aren't at least considered or at the table.
Yeah, bus rapid transit is another thing I've heard talk about. Basically, it's a dedicated lane for a bus, so you can kind of get on the bus and not get stuck behind a bunch of drivers.
And the other thing that we've seen is in Tampa specifically, Route 1 has been free all year long. When I've talked to HART officials about that, the Hillsborough Area Transportation Authority, they have said that they've seen increased ridership. And it's not like 1% increased ridership. They've seen significant number jumps because they've been able to really tap into that community. And people know, oh, wow, this is free. I don't have to waste gas. I don't have to drive myself. I could do something else while I'm on the bus. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking too, back to your original point about just the scope of these projects, whether it's Malfunction Junction or other projects, the Howard Frankland Bridge replacement, whatever it is, it takes a very long time. And to our emailer Newton's point, the population is growing. This comes back to the point you were making too about 2020, right? A good year to be on the road because there weren't so many people driving at certain times a year, but that actually kind of was the starting point for this kind of surge in population growth here in Florida. So we are experiencing a boom in population. It's a lot to deal with anyway. And on top of that, you've got these kind of roads that are sometimes in not very good shape because they were designed like 60 years ago. And they're trying to sort of build that as the population is just increasing exponentially.
So it's like a problem building on top of each other. On top of what you just said, repavements on roadways that are in bad condition. That takes millions of dollars as well, and a ton of materials and a ton of time and a ton of road closures, which you're happy that the road's getting fixed, but you're mad that you can't get to work or school or wherever you're trying to go easily because they're repaving it.
Yeah. About 30 seconds here left, Sky, but what's some advice for drivers? Be patient, look for alternate routes, use your GPS. Any other tips?
FDOT has breakdowns of each one of their projects, including the road closures that you could check out online. The other thing that I'll say is for that GPS side of things, a lot of people don't know you could program your smartphone so that you can avoid some of these big highways and routes. Now, you might end up being there the same amount of time on the roadway, but it could just help you not feeling like you're stuck in traffic, which is a problem for a lot of people.
It is a problem. WSF's Sky LeBron, the host of the Bay Blend, our daily podcast, also a traffic reporter from time to time. Thank you so much, Sky.
Thanks, Matt.
Still to come, Oktoberfest with a Tampa twist. Hear how the celebration of German culture has taken root in Tampa Bay. That's coming up on Florida Matters, live and local, in just a moment.
I'm Scott Tong. Good grief, Peanuts is 75 years old. The iconic comic strip created by Charles Schulz spawned TV shows and movies, became a cultural phenomenon.
It's easy to take it for granted now because he changed the language and the psychology of comic strips. It fit the time, and yet it's timeless.
Next time, Here and Now.
Listener support powers WUSF. Funding also comes from Tampa General Hospital, the region's only academic health system. Together with USF Health Morsani College of Medicine, TGH delivers groundbreaking innovation and life-saving care. For more information, visit tgh.org. Ella and the Bossa Beat return to the Palladium at St. Pete College. This international father-daughter duo and their band perform Brazilian jazz and original music this Saturday, October 4th. More at mypalladium.org.
WUSF wants to help you handle hurricane season this year. Our newsroom will provide you the latest on air and at WUSF.org. Our engineers make sure our backup generators are ready to go. That means our team can provide you live updates, from bridges closing down to post-storm damage reports. Whether you listen on a battery-powered radio or visit our website after evacuating, know that WUSF is here, ready to serve.
Welcome back to Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Matthew Petty. Now, you probably know about Ye Mystic Crew of Gasparilla, but have you heard of the crew of Oktoberfest? So the crew of Oktoberfest is one of the newest crews in Tampa, and it's a social club that promotes German culture, and this is a busy month for them. Nicole Winkler is the co-founder of Oktoberfest Tampa and director of the crew of Oktoberfest, and she joins us in studio. Nicole, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Matthew. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so people on Zoom can probably see, but for listeners, can you describe the traditional German clothing you're wearing?
Certainly, yes. Of course, the girls wear the traditional dirndls during the Oktoberfest season. All the clothing that guys and the girls wear, the Germans will call Trachten, but the girls specifically wear the dirndls with the dresses, the aprons, and the blouses. Yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of a tradition you're tapping into that probably goes back hundreds of years or something.
Absolutely, yeah. Oktoberfest is a 200-year-old tradition that dates back in Munich, in Germany, and is now celebrated by millions across the world.
Mm-hmm. Why is that? I mean, how is it that this kind of particular aspect of German culture has spread around the globe?
Yeah, you know, I think for us, we kind of boil it really right down to the Gemütlichkeit.
I was hoping you would say that because I was looking at that word, like, I can't pronounce that thing.
You know, I think at the core, we're just human beings that love to be social and love to be connected with our friends and family and neighbors. Mm-hmm. And that is what Gemütlichkeit is. It's the coziness amongst friends and family. And so that's really at the core of what we do when we get together to celebrate our Oktoberfest Tampa event.
Mm-hmm. So Gemütlichkeit, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that is coziness. Is that what it translates to?
Yes, precisely, amongst friends and family.
Okay, that's interesting because when I think Oktoberfest, I think like big crowds, kind of people going a little bit crazy, a little bit wild.
That is kind of what some of the bigger tents get a lot of media attention for. But there are quite a number of Festzelts in Munich, in Germany. Mm-hmm. Some are a little crazier than others, but really it is about getting close and sitting shoulder to shoulder on the Plänke, they call them, the benches, and singing and schunkling and dancing and eating together.
Okay, what was the other word you said? Schunkling?
Yes.
What was schunkling?
To schunkel, that's when you hook elbows with your buddies that you're sitting next to on the bench, and you sway left to right as you're dancing. Mm-hmm. That's to schunkel.
I suppose, you know, when I think Oktoberfest, I think beer, right? So that beer is pretty important to that.
Absolutely, probably top of the list.
Okay. So tell me how this whole thing got started. 200 years ago in Munich, a bunch of people sort of got together and said, we need to celebrate beer, or we need to celebrate kind of togetherness. What was the genesis of this original celebration?
The wedding of Therese von Sachsen to King Ludwig 200 years ago. It was a big wedding that they hosted, and they invited the local brewers that were within the city boundaries of Munich to brew the beer for them, and that has been a tradition that has carried to this day.
Is it always the same kind of beer?
Yes, specifically for the breweries, yes. Yep, Pilsner, Hefe, the Märzen, and a Dunkel. And those are the ones that we serve at our event as well.
How does a festival like Oktoberfest, which is celebrated at a time when I imagine it's getting a little chilly in Germany, how does that translate to here in Tampa? Because, it's technically kind of fall-ish, but it can be quite warm in Tampa, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And, a lot of people will always joke about the fact that Oktoberfest in Munich is in September, but our Oktoberfest is always the second full weekend in October. For us, we think that's when the fall weather rolls in, so that it makes it perfect for us.
Mm-hmm. Does it get uncomfortable wearing like lederhosen in the Tampa heat? Do people sort of wear that? Is that part of the kit for the men?
We do have a lot of our crew wear it, yes, and it can get warm.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is the 16th time that you've held this festival. Is there a big German kind of cultural connection here in Tampa? Like, there's a lot of folks who celebrate their German heritage?
There are a tremendous amount of people that love celebrating their German heritage. One of our Royal Court crew members, Fran Hosch, and her husband, Rhett Jones, are strong supporters of ours. She is German. She's carrying on the heritage of her father and her mother. And then we also have crew that we fly over every single year, my family, that help us produce the event stage. They help us with stage setup. They help us with decor and setup, manage crew, manage just all kinds of technical aspects. But I also find that the local community here, they love showing up and telling us about their German heritage and family that they have, or trips that they remember taking when they were younger. So it gives them an opportunity to connect with that.
Is it something that you've kind of come to as you've gotten older, or is it something that you've always felt connected to yourself, that German heritage?
Well, I was born there, so for me it was always pretty close. I have lived in the States for more than 25 years, and I think for me it was just really more of the, I felt grateful that I had that connection, that I could be so close to it and open up an opportunity for the community here in Greater Tampa Bay to sort of celebrate it in their own way, but with their own passions for German heritage.
Mm-hmm. I wondered, though, when you think about some of the things about German culture, Oktoberfest is probably top of the list. People probably think about the car culture, too, in Germany and other things. But is it sort of an avenue to get people more interested in deeper aspects of German culture? Because a lot of it feels like maybe it's just people enjoy having a party, right, and getting together and drinking a bit of beer.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, for just depending on how you want to celebrate Oktoberfest. There's a lot of people that love coming to our event because they know that we have German visitors, travelers that are here that they get to connect with. And then there's other people that are here that just love the fact that they can participate in the festivities of Oktoberfest their own way. Mm-hmm. So I think it really just kind of depends on people's own unique backgrounds and how close they are with their German heritage.
I imagine you've gone to the original Oktoberfest in Munich, is that right?
Yeah, I've gone to Frühlingsfest, actually.
Okay.
It's their spring version of their
Oh,
fest.
okay.
I moved to the States when I was young, so I wasn't quite Oktoberfest age when I moved. But Frühlingsfest I've been to in Stuttgart, which is where they take the tents that they deconstruct at Oktoberfest in Munich, and then they will set them back up again in the spring and utilize them and kind of do the same thing. And it's absolutely amazing. The whole just culture and the vibe of going to that. They have like roaming, circulating wooden bars and things that you get to like drink on, and it's a whole fairway experience with lots of rides and games. So it's great.
Is that something, you're trying to recreate that experience here in Tampa? There's probably some logistical reasons why you might do some things a little bit differently, but in terms of the tents or the particular kind of equipment that you're using, like how much of it is similar to what you might see if you visited Germany and went to the Oktoberfest there?
Yeah, sure. Good question. You know, the feeling that you get inside the tent when you're shoulder to shoulder and the music's going and, you know, your beer is full and your plate's full is definitely the feeling of Gemütlichkeit that you would have in Germany, too. You know, I always say we can't ever be Munich's Oktoberfest because we're here in Tampa. We are the home of the outrageous Bavarian Games. So those are unique to us and they're pretty special and unique. But we do, you know, we try our best. We are adding more of those fair aspects each and every year as we grow and expand into downtown. So I only see it getting bigger and better as we grow.
We're talking with Nicole Winkler, co-founder of Oktoberfest Tampa and director of the crew of Oktoberfest. All right, so you started pretty small, right? I think I was reading that it was in what is now Armature Works.
Correct.
And then just not enough space, so we've got to go outside.
Well, right, is that in that incident, the building was being worked on, so we physically couldn't go back. And that was the same thing our second year when we were at Waterworks Park. Right after we held our event, the city was doing construction on it, so we just physically couldn't go back to that park. So it naturally helped us expand to Curtis Hickson, and that's been our home ever since.
And the games you mentioned, what are they?
The outrageous Bavarian Games. The Steinhoist is probably the most popular, but there's a whole bunch. Grain sack tosses. There's the Liederstein duck race, where you have to race with a full liter of beer in each hand with flippers that you would normally wear in the water. Okay. But you have to do this course that you have to get around and not spill a drop of beer, and the person that spills the least amount of beer wins. Silly things like that. We do also have the region's largest beard and mustache competition on Saturday evening, October 11th.
So I had a stat here for you. About 7 million litres of beer was drunk last Oktoberfest in Munich. So that's in 2024. Do you have like a kind of analogy, or like, do you know how much gets drunk here in Oktoberfest in Tampa?
I know it's more than a couple hundred kegs. We could do the math on that real quick. Yeah, so it's a good amount. We love supporting Green Bench Brewing. They brew our Oktoberfest Tampa Dunkel. Coppertail Brewing also is brewing in Meritzen for us this year as well that we have on tap. So we love supporting our local craft breweries.
Got a question here from Vince. Vince, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
You know, I love the Oktoberfest celebrations, and thank you for that quick update. I was also interested in more of the local breweries and who else is participating. But I was curious what you think. How does the Tampa celebration compare to some of the other ones around the country? I like traveling to the different Oktoberfests around the country. Houston, Atlanta have been some of the great stops I've had. But what's unique more about Tampa's Oktoberfest celebration, and how does it compare to others you've seen across the country?
Thanks, Vince. Appreciate that question. What about it?
Sure, it's a great question. You know, us being the home of the outrageous Bavarian Games, I think, is one of our most unique and differentiating factors. We take them pretty seriously. We have medals. We have separate stages that are right by the main stage just for them. The Beard and Mustache and the Mr. and Mrs. Oktoberfest competition that we have some really zany competitions of things that you have to do, win over the crowd. And so for us, I think that's really unique. We also take a kind of like one of the party fest-style vibes on Friday and Saturday night. So, you know, for us, it's about really letting you come downtown and getting the full sort of festival experience at our event.
Sounds great. We've been talking about Oktoberfest Tampa with Nicole Winkler, the co-founder of Oktoberfest Tampa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. We look forward to hosting you all.
That's our show for today. Coming up next week, we're going to be talking about inflation on Florida Matters Live and Local. We want to hear from you. Is there something you've stopped buying? What kind of sticker shock are you experiencing? Give us a call. We're at 813-755-6562. You can leave a message there. 813-755-6562. You can also send us an email, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Florida Matters executive producer is Grayson Doctor. Our producer is Amelie Horace. Willie Belcher is our intern. Our engineer is Jackson Harpy. Also composed our theme music. Gio Garvin answered the phones. Chandler Bolcom and Natalie Jaron handled the video. You can subscribe to Florida Matters wherever you get your podcasts and watch on WUSF's YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Petty. Thanks so much for watching and listening, and have a great weekend.
The Arctic is warming about 4 times